So what's up, guys? So the rough drafts are out for the next chapter of the Dragon Ball Super manga, and it looks to be much different than the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie, because Goten and Trunks seem to take a much bigger role in this whole thing than before. So Herms98 has translated the rough drafts, and I'm just going to go over them here and essentially give my thoughts because I think something big is coming for Goten and Trunks. So the roughs are out for DBS Chapter 97. Cell Max runs wild. Goten and Trunks attack Cell Max in their Saiyaman outfits but are swatted aside. Bulma explains that since the boys were grounded for over a year and a half, they haven't been training. Piccolo thinks he and Gohan will have to fight and reaches for their last remaining sensu. Trunks says he and Goten will be fine. After all, they haven't gone Super Saiyan yet. The boys will stall time for them while Piccolo plus Gohan recover their stamina. Piccolo still wonders if Goten and Trunks can be relied on, but Kuririn assures them that the boys can get things done once they set their minds to it. And I think that's a very important thing to consider, what they just said, setting their minds to it. Still, Bulma thinks that Kuririn just doesn't want to do any fighting himself. Meanwhile, Gamma 1 and 2 shoot at Cell Max. Trunks notes that Cell Max seems clumsy, and Gamma 1 thinks he still is getting used to using his power. Now might be their only chance to defeat him. Hearing that, Trunks and Goten go Super Saiyan. Alright, it's our turn now. They attack Cell Max again, and that's it for now. And it seems like, from what Perms is saying here, that they are adapting some of the attacks that happened in the manga early in the manga. So all this stuff is sort of happening quicker than it did in the manga. So Herms goes on to say, but obviously we can expect more manga-only stuff, and it's not like there's a one-to-one page count correspondence between the manga and Toyotaro version, even for movie material. Still, overall, the superhero adaptation will likely continue into Chapter 99 at least. So this is what I want to talk about. So personally, and this is just speculation on my part, I think the entire point of this story between Goten and Trunks has been to build up to actually getting Gotenks, the real Gotenks, in this fight with Cell Max. And I'm just going to tell you why. Because if they have been marketing Gotenks being in Dragon Ball Super Superhero since the film, which they did market that, not only did they hint at it and it ended up being a joke and being fat Gotenks in the actual film, but they also showed us at the end of the film, they teased us with the possibility of their second try. Now, I have quite a few reasons to think that adult Gotenks is coming to the manga. Now, first of all, this is just major speculation on my part, but I've noticed that Dragon Ball Super has been playing on its yin-yang aesthetic now more than ever in Dragon Ball's history, and I noticed that Goten and Trunks have that same aesthetic whenever they're in their Saiyaman outfits. And as I've discussed in my previous videos, yin and yang represent the ideas of body and mind. And so Trunks has shown problems keeping his mind straight within the previous arcs, and Goten sort of just stands in as really sort of Trunks' sidekick. Now, Goten being a support character and Trunks having an issue with focusing because he's got other things on his mind tells me that it may be the case that they are building up to Goten and Trunks being mind and body themed, merging together at the end of this arc in order to become Gotenks, essentially becoming a perfect representation of mind and body within the context of martial arts, and using that to damage Cell Max's head before, of course, Gohan, Beast, and Piccolo finish the job. Now, Gamma 2 will obviously still have to die, and that's the issue, is that Gamma 2 will still have to, ultimately make his sacrifice and do the damage necessary to Cell Max. So I do think that Gamma 2 still has a role to play in this whole thing because he has to, because he doesn't make it past the arc. That does not mean that Goten and Trunks can't have a significant impact on this fight. Just because Gamma 2 has to have his significant impact on this fight does not mean that Trunks and Goten cannot. To me, it just seems very clear that they wanted to put something in the manga that wasn't in the anime. We saw from the very beginning that was Goten and Trunks, and they've been building up to Goten and Trunks having a bigger role in this story than in the original Dragon Ball Super superhero film. Here we are seeing them not repeating exactly what happened in the film and having Goten and Trunks in their Saiyaman outfits, going into their Super Saiyan transformations, basically talking about how they can get anything done when they put their mind to it. So to me, it's very clear that they are building up to something different. And I know how marketing goes when it comes to Dragon Ball. They love to tease things, and the idea that teasing Goten and Trunks fusing in the original promotional material for Dragon Ball Super Superhero, and then turning around and teasing them actually fusing at the end of the film, and then giving Goten and Trunks a prominent role in this arc as Saiyaman X1 and X2, giving them essentially their own arc prior to all these events, and now changing the events to give Goten and Trunks a bit more of a spotlight. Not to mention Toyotaro himself being a huge fan of Gotenks. He's actually drawn an adult version of Gotenks. So to me, there's a clear build-up here to Goten and Trunks using and actually becoming Gotenks himself rather than just the fat version. Now, he may mess up and use the fat version of the fusion. He may not become the actual adult Gotenks at all. But to me, it just seems very uncharacteristic, especially for Toyotaro, to not take advantage of this opportunity to give us adult Gotenks, because he himself is a fan. You've got the yin-yang aesthetic of Goten and Trunks here. You've got the teamwork between them being a major plot point. And this, of course, is feeding into how that was a major plot point in their little arc in the manga. It just seems to me like this is the perfect opportunity, since Goten and Trunks are working together so well, and they seem to have matured a lot, and they seem to really be dedicated to this idea of defeating Cell Max and helping Gohan and Piccolo, and this whole hyping up Goten and Trunks and, you know, making a bigger deal out of them than what was in the original Dragon Ball Superhero film. I think this is the perfect opportunity for them to essentially develop Gotenks. And what do I mean by that? Well, we all saw in the Buu saga that Gotenks had an issue with overconfidence. He had an issue with actually getting the job done because he essentially thought he was too powerful. And this would be the perfect opportunity, as Goten and Trunks have matured and become closer and become more harmonized as heroes together, as they face different enemies and foes, backing each other up, things of that nature. As they've matured, I think this is the perfect opportunity to unveil adult Gotenks and have him be a more mature and preferable version of himself than what existed before in the Dragon Ball Z anime and manga. I think this is the perfect opportunity to do that. Goten and Trunks have been working together. They've been harmonizing together. They, like Vegeta and Goku, are very obviously a representation of the body and the mind. They both had their yin-yang aesthetic clothes. They're, you know, and not that has anything to do with what Gotenks is going to look like, because we all know that they're going to have the Metamoran fusion clothes whenever they actually turn into Gotenks. But it just seems like there is a lot of hints, a lot of things that suggest that merging and becoming a cooler version of Gotenks that is suitable for fan service, and to essentially, honestly, make the retelling a bit more worth it. It just seems like with everything that's happened, everything that happened with the film, all the teasing of Gotenks, everything that's led up to now, it would just be very in character for them to save Gotenks for the manga, to make the manga a little bit more palatable, since the manga is essentially just retelling. It's the manga exclusive version of the story of Dragon Ball Superhero. If I was in charge, I would just see this as the perfect opportunity to essentially capitalize on all the hype from the film, seeing adult Gotenks be created off screen in his perfect form, being teased with Goten and Trunks failing at fusing in the film itself, seeing the failed fuse pose on the poster advertising it, seeing the mastered fusion pose at the end of the film, suggesting that it's a possibility for us to see adult Gotenks. To me, it just seems like this is the perfect opportunity to bring in adult Gotenks, and I just don't see them squandering that opportunity, because honestly, it would build up so much hype. It would do so much for people wanting to see adult Gotenks in action and wanting to see something a little bit different in this manga adaptation of Dragon Ball Superhero. I just think it's the perfect opportunity, and if they squander it, it's a huge mistake on their part. And I really hope that all of my hunches and everything that, you know, I've seen that hint at the possibility of adult Gotenks comes true, because it would just be amazing to see in the manga. I would love to see that. It would be a treat to see with, you know, Gohan Beast, Orange Piccolo, everything that's coming up in the manga. It would just make the manga that much more hype, and I really, really hope that it comes into fruition. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Hey guys, don't forget to check out Dragon Ball Infinity on the DaoofDragonBall.com. It's a story I wrote and produced with the help of Copy Workshop about a young Saiyan boy based on a character from Egyptian mythology who was a monkey god very similar to Sun Wukong from Journey to the West, who was an actual god of destruction. This story actually plays very heavily on Egyptian lore. It also makes references to Journey to the West due to the fact that the legend of Journey to the West and the story of Babi, the Egyptian baboon god, have a lot in common. So if you're interested, don't forget to check it out on the DaoofDragonBall.com, hosted by Derek Padula. And also don't forget to check out Derek Padula's many articles breaking down the many cool spiritual and scientific aspects of Dragon Ball, as well as its relevance in pop culture and different really cool aspects of Dragon Ball that are really fun to read about. Derek does a great job with his articles, so I would highly recommend you check out this website. And don't forget to check out his Dragon Ball culture books available now. Thanks a lot, and I appreciate the support.